What's going on? We got a good one for you guys today, man. Talking about those Kansas City Chiefs. They're on the move. They're heading west on 70. They heading down there to Wyandotte County. Doing everything. They heading down the road. What y'all think about this? Y'all pissed off? Y'all mad? What you gonna do? We got the Chiefs on. They finna chime in on it and tell me what they think about it. Let's see what they got to think about it.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Chiefs Zone podcast. My name is Farzin Vasugi, and thank you all for joining me on this big edition of the Chiefs Zone podcast. We are not going to be talking about the team on the field today, and let's be honest, I don't think a lot of people want to really talk about that on this Monday. Today is a historic day for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is monumental, and there are mixed emotions on all of this. There is a lot people have to say about all of this. There's a lot that's coming out as the breaking news. You see it in the title. The Chiefs are moving to Kansas. No, this is not fake news. No, this isn't clickbait. A lot of you guys have been criticizing me for even talking about this on social media over the last, almost 2 years. This is real. They had a press conference today. The governor of Kansas, Laura Kelly, and Chiefs owner Clark Hunt, they held a jersey together, and the jersey said 31. No, that is not in honor of Priest Holmes or any of that. It is in honor of the Chiefs moving to Kansas in the year 2031. That means there's 5 seasons of Arrowhead Stadium left, or the Chiefs playing at Arrowhead Stadium. What will become of Arrowhead?
Me personally, man, I just feel like, and I've said this since I've gotten wind of Kansas has gotten into the race to win the Chiefs, that Mahomes just closed out Arrowhead, man. He did his thing out there for these last, close to 10 years, Let him close it on out. I think they got like another, 5-6 years left there. I'll let Mahomes close it on out and then move on to bigger and better things in Kansas. They got a better infrastructure, more hotels, amenities. It is what it is. They failed to develop that area out there where the Royals and currently the Chiefs call home, and quite frankly, it's a little sad. It is what it is. People are reluctant to change, but I think it'll serve them well moving down 20 miles to Kansas to play in the Legends area. Let's finish up.
After the Chiefs leave in 2031 and beyond, I have no idea. Is it going to stay there, or are they going to tear it down? Will it be used for something? I have no idea. But there is a lot to get into. I want you guys to chime in and give me your thoughts on anything you have on your mind right now, because I know you guys have a lot to say on this subject. Listen, this is big. This is real big. Even if you're one of those people, like, I know this turned into Kansas versus Missouri, which that's not my thing.
It really did, man. You got your Kansas City, Kansas native, your Kansas City, Missouri natives. They're never really at odds. They're always bumping heads about you can't claim our team, you're from Kansas, this, that, and the third. And me, I'm not a resident of Kansas or Missouri. I've stayed in both states for a healthy amount of time, so I feel like I can speak on the subject, being an outsider. It's quite hilarious, that it's a metro area, but it just happens to be shared by 2 states, and they don't want the team moving, but they're actually going to be getting an upgrade, and that they should get.
Some people cannot stand the state of Kansas for whatever reason. Look, here's my thing. If you're one of those people that absolutely cannot accept that they're moving to Kansas and or that Arrowhead Stadium's going away, which, first of all, regardless where you stood, what you wanted to happen, everyone is in complete shock that Arrowhead's days are numbered 100%. So if you're one of those people that absolutely is crushed and heartbroken by this, my message to you is enjoy Arrowhead while we have it. We only have it for 5 seasons. So if you're going to go to one game, if you're going to go to every game at Arrowhead from now to the remaining 5 years, and I'm obviously not including this season. We know there's only one game left this season, regardless of the outcome of the rest of the 2 weeks we have left. Enjoy every second of it, every minute, anytime you're there. Cherish it, because it won't be there. And there will be generations where we will explain to them that there was this area called the Truman Sports Complex. The Chiefs played there. The Royals played there. The Chiefs also had their practice facility there. And who knows what will happen with those structures over there. It's weird to even think about. It's really weird to think about. Those things might not even be gone. Who knows what in the world will even happen to that land after 2031. But we're going to have to explain to future generations that the Chiefs and the Royals once played next to each other. So when the Chiefs are in Kansas and when the Royals are either in downtown North Casey or also in Kansas, we're going to have to explain to them they used to be right next to each other in Missouri. Listen, I'm not a parent, but I'll go to Royals games, and this actually comes up often, and I'm sure you guys have heard it too, whether your parents or not. I'll sit somewhere and somebody behind me or next to me will be there with their kid, and maybe that's their first game, and they will point where the fountain area is, and they tell them, hey, there used to not be seats over there before you were born. There was no way to even go behind the video board. There was that area at left field. It just stopped right there. And same with right field. Just stopped right there. You couldn't go to the other side. If you wanted to get from the right field seating to left field seating for whatever reason, you would have to go all the way around the stadium, basically like behind first base, home plate, third base, and get to, whatever you needed to do at left field. That doesn't exist anymore. And the crazy.
So what it seems like he's expanding on is that in this shuffle of the Royals looking for a new home, that they did make some sizable improvements, being able to navigate the stadium a little bit easier than what it was in the yesteryears, and that might fall on deaf ears. That he's trying to really cry out that it's better than it's been before, and and we're improving it and it's better. But they finna get a new stadium too, man. They won a World Series a few years back. It's time to shed all these old skins. All the other cities is getting new stadiums, new infrastructure. So why not them? Why not Kansas? Why not Kansas City? Why not Missouri? So we don't know where the stadium is going to be yet, but why not Kansas?
Thing is that the stadium itself, which was renovated, less than 20 years ago, that might not exist anymore. Listen, the Truman Sports Complex, as we know it, is dead. It's crazy. The fact that that's even a thought right now. I never thought we'd be saying that. I mean, listen, I'm not shocked by this move for various reasons. And I've posted some of this, but if you missed it on my social media, I'll explain why this move is happening right now. I think one big factor, obviously, we went over in detail on Friday or Thursday. I can't remember what day it was when this was first being reported that, hey, they're having this meeting and there's a very, very, very serious possibility that after this meeting, they'll approve of the Star bonds and the Chiefs will start turning the wheels on moving to Kansas. But I think there's one bigger thing to point out here, because I followed this story very closely because I thought this was fascinating. Listen, the reason I do a football podcast is because doing a podcast on politics is pretty boring. I mean, for me, at least. Like, I've paid attention to some of these Senate meetings, the special session in Missouri. Boy, I seriously cannot understand why anyone would want to get into politics for a living, whether you're a politician, an elected official, or you cover politics.
Yeah, speaking on politics, I think this may be not so good currently on a reflection on current mayor Lucas. You know, he's getting everything prepped for World Cup, and I don't know by him being so vigorously occupied with trying to do improvements from World Cup, knowing that this shoe was going to fall to kind of soften the blow. But I believe this is a black eye on his, his seat as the mayor of Kansas City, Missouri, just not to get things construct or confused. He's the mayor of Kansas City, Missouri, and he does a great job. He comes under a lot of fire for potholes and crime and shootings and things of that nature. But losing the Kansas City Chiefs would be a big black eye on his term as the mayor here. He's done a lot of improvements. I'm not trying to knock him personally. You know, he's done well. I don't have a problem with him, but you got the likes of Frank White, who's like the executive who's been coming under fire, and they removing him and trying to get down to Frank White, Jr. So, he might need to tighten up, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like they coming for him.
It's such a crazy aspect of our world, but it is a real thing. And as I was following this, here's, I think, the first big key indicator that this was not going to, the Chiefs were not going to stay at Arrowhead Stadium. And it was the fact that they could not come to a deal in May. They didn't even vote on this in May because of some disagreements. And I understand, there are a lot of constituents, elected officials elsewhere that said, hey, we have to explain this to our colleagues. Why are we in St. Louis or anywhere else in eastern Missouri? Why should we vote for something on the whole other side of the state? And I think some people also held it against the western side of Missouri that they did not care about the Rams leaving St. Louis. But it was a very close vote. This was a vote during the special session. It started on a Wednesday night, I think it was, and it went into Thursday morning at 2:27 a.m. And it was not a clean sweep either. I think the vote was like 19-13 in favor of giving Kansas 50%. But when they were debating this whole thing, which turned into World War III, Senator Joe Nicola said the Kansas deal is better. Like he straight up told the senators in Missouri, and there were a lot of senators there. All of them were there, and some of them spoke, and they even brought up the Kansas versus Missouri thing, which again I think is silly and immature. But I think it was Senator.
Once again, he brings up that Kansas-Missouri rivalry, where it just the two sides just have a problem getting along, but are so close together and so intertwined. And I think this is a step in the right direction of them just, not looking at one as better than the other and one is below the other. I think this is the great equalizer, letting them know that both sides are equal, in my opinion.
Gregory Curtis, he was talking about how important it was for him to keep the Chiefs in Missouri. And then Senator Joe Nicola spoke up and said, look, you guys realize we're voting on 50%, and the Kansas deal is better than Missouri's. Like, would you rather take 50% to renovate or 70% for a whole new stadium, which can bring you all of these opportunities? And again, I know that does not sit well with people. Some of you do not care about a Final Four or Super Bowl or any other events coming to Kansas City. I respect that. You don't have to care. I'm not trying to convince you to care. But what I'm trying to convince you of is the Hunt family cares. And in fact, I don't really need to convince you of that. That is a fact. That's what they wanted in all of this. But that back and forth during the special session, that was chaos. And it kind of just made me wonder, like, why do people even want to get into politics? I know we need politicians as much as we criticize them, but it's just a crazy thing for people that want to get into it. So there was that. And then the House approved of it. The governor of Missouri approved of it. And the Mayor Quentin Lucas, said on Pete Mundo's show, hey, this 50% is more than enough to keep the Chiefs and the Royals in Missouri, which obviously has backfired. And by the way, we are trying very hard to get the mayor of Kansas City on this podcast. I've been in contact with his people, so we're trying to figure that all out right now. But the mayor said this was more than enough to keep him. Yet
you see how we ended up to back to what I was speaking of earlier, the mayor of Kansas City, how he thought he had this in the bag and it kind of backfired, and they're going to come for his head. I know they are.
Chiefs, and I think it was Mark Donovan specifically, he said if we want to renovate Arrowhead Stadium, then we would want additional assistance from the county and the city. So you have the president of the Chiefs and the mayor of Kansas City saying two completely different things. And then on multiple occasions, the mayor, and this is where I'm very critical of the mayor on his live stream said, there's more we can do to activate the area around the Truman Sports Complex, which I disagree with. But he was very confident you could do something with that area. Clark Hunt in training camp this past July said, no, there can't be anything done with that area. So you have the Chiefs, the owner, and the president, they're publicly saying one thing. The mayor is saying the complete opposite, while the mayor is also beating this optimistic drum of, hey, the Chiefs will stay in Kansas City. They will renovate Arrowhead, and the Royals will move downtown. We'll see what's going to happen with the Royals, but for now, it's really just about the Chiefs at the moment. But listen, I think, and listen, I'll say this, not to defend the mayor on this, but I mean, listen, what's he going to do? Is he going to publicly say, yeah, guys, I'm not really sure if we're going to keep this? I think he was trying his best to just display optimism in the whole thing. I saw part of his press conference today. I know there are a bunch of press conferences happening at one time. I have not had a chance to listen to all of it. I think the Missouri side, they're just shocked. I was even listening to Phil Lavoda, the interim Jackson County executive who's replacing Frank White after Frank White got ousted earlier this year. He did that weird thing on Thursday or Friday, Operation Save Arrowhead. Dude, that didn't even last a full 72 hours. I have no idea what in the hell that was. That was weird because the mayor, which again leads me to my point, I don't think the Missouri politicians were ever unified on this. From the Senate meeting at the special session to what the mayor had been saying.
Just coming from a resident of the metro area, Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, just that whole 50-mile radius. The area around the stadium, they've been needing some improvements as far as like hotel accommodations, restaurants. I can speak personally. I've been to games in, they have gas stations across the street where they shut down on the Sundays and they basically use the whole gas station for a parking lot. I think we pay maybe like $20, $15 to park over there. It's people don't really understand. Arrowhead is really in a community. It's houses across the street from Arrowhead. Not a lot of stadiums have that dynamic to where being in that proximity to a NFL stadium that you can have a house literally across the street. And I think Kansas is exploiting that by having all the amenities and the legends in the surrounding area that can accommodate those people coming out of town to come to the NFL game, to be able to do some other things as well as go to the NFL game. They're just building to that big complex out there that currently has the NASCAR stadium. So this is just another feather in Kansas cap. They have all that land out there and opportunity. So uh, I knew this was going to happen. I know everybody was so reluctant on the Chiefs moving to Kansas, but the writing was on the wall just based how they've been building the infrastructure up over there in Kansas. And if you're in denial, stay in denial, but the infrastructure has really grown and built up in that area, even up until this year, last year, and they have future projects that are huge. So it was inevitable for them to be able to land the Chiefs by them not having anything of that type of scale being done on the current Arrowhead facility or in that whole 2 or 3 mile radius. Nothing like this was being built out there. So let's chime back in.
To what the governor had been saying and not matching with what the Chiefs president and owner was saying, it just did not make any sense. And I think those were strong indicators to me that this stadium might be seeing its last days. The Chiefs might be moving, which is obviously what they decided on today officially. Mark Donovan did say on Friday they were still negotiating with both sides. They had not even come to terms yet. But I think late Friday night is when they made that decision. Now, Phil Lavoda, who even went on talk radio today, and Mayor Quentin Lucas on Friday was on 610, they were both basically saying, hey, nothing's going to come out of this meeting. So I think this is a really bad look for the Missouri politicians. They kept telling us that everything was going to be all right and that the Chiefs want to stay in Missouri. They want to renovate Arrowhead. They will stay there, yet they chose the other option. So my question is, and if I get the opportunity to have the mayor on, my big question to him is, what happened? How did you go from being so optimistic about the Chiefs staying to this happening? And I get that, John. You're right. And I understand the other part of it too. Like, no politician's ever going to come out and say, yeah, we don't think we're going to win this campaign, or we don't think this is going to go in our favor. Like, no politician will ever say that publicly. And listen, we've already gone over the April vote from last year, just how bad of a campaign it was. And I think the Chiefs and the Royals have to take a lot of ownership in that. But I think the one big factor that led to where we are today with the Chiefs announcing a move to Kansas for 2031, the politicians on the Missouri side, not in line at all. The moment the April 2nd, 2024 vote failed, Kansas wasted little time. And not only did they waste little time, they were in unison. They were all in together. And I'm talking about the key players. Were there some people that voted against it in that big meeting in the summer of 2024? Yes. One other thing, to go back to the Missouri special session, the senator of Missouri, I'm sorry, not the senator. I don't remember exactly what district he's from. I want to say North KC, Gregory Curtis. He said that if the Chiefs wanted to leave for Kansas, they would have done it by now because they've had that offer for more than a year. It doesn't always work like that. The Chiefs want to do their due diligence. They want to make sure they have all their ducks in a row before making any official move. They took their time with this. They asked for an extension from the Star Bonds, and the state of Kansas was very stern. Yes, we have to extend them for a full year, but we want an answer by the end of 2025. And they got that answer with less than 2 weeks to go before the new year.
I'd like to take this moment to take pause and thank the Chiefs Zone podcast for doing this great reporting on the Chiefs moving to Kansas. I'm fairly new to podcasting and on YouTube, and I chose their podcast to piggyback off of because they have great intel and information, and it's reputable podcast to be able to serve as a baseline for the Chiefs moving to Kansas. So I'd just like to take this moment to thank the Chiefs Zone podcast for doing what they do and continue what you got going on over there.
So the Kansas politicians, they were calm, they were cool, they were unified in all of this. And yeah, those guys, they have a lot of things they disagree on, but they were able to come together on this one. They found a way to make this work. And again, I don't want to just put it all on the mayor or the governor. I know some people are also blaming the previous governor. Here's another thing you got to keep in mind, because I'm seeing people continue to blame Missouri, specifically Jackson County voters, and I'm going to push back on this every single time. Do not blame the Missouri, specifically the Jackson County voters. For them to vote no, they had a valid reason to vote no. And a big reason was because of their previous executive, county executive, Frank White. Frank White was doing all these raises on property tax. People in Jackson County were livid. This had been going on for several years. I mean, like back in 2019, 2018, people of Jackson County had been upset with Frank White. And listen, I don't know what Frank White's legacy is going to be, because when they had the Royals 1985 World Series team reunion this past summer, they were introducing each and every single individual part of that team that attended the reunion at Kauffman Stadium. I was getting worried for Frank White. I said, are we going to cheer him or are we going to boo the hell out of him? The stadium was filled with boos. Nobody wanted to see Frank White at that reunion, and you could see it got a chuckle out of him as he was. I think he knew what was coming. I mean, he's no dummy. He knew that was going to happen. But I know the mayor today was trying to be defensive of him a little bit and said, hey, listen, when I think of Frank White, he's a great baseball player. And he was a great baseball player. His number is retired. And I'm already seeing people say, hey, take Frank White's number off the retired board there at Kauffman Stadium, which I think is silly. Let's not go that far. If you want to criticize Frank White for what he's done, and rightfully so, as county executive, do that all you want. But man, it's I think this whole thing with Missouri, you got to blame yourselves. Yes, the teams and the campaign, because part of the thing, I know the Chiefs kind of stuck to their own thing with, hey, this is what we want to do. Here it is, plain and simple. Wasn't the best proposal. Wasn't anything that.
I just feel like Missouri, governor, politicians, the city infrastructure, all the players on the Missouri side just really didn't take Kansas serious and didn't take them as a threat. They just didn't take them serious, and they had more to offer, over in Kansas, and it wasn't really more so about whether or not the fan base cared. It was more so about what the owners and what taxpayers had to say with it, and Kansas being able to put a deal together that wasn't going to affect the taxpayers and use the Star Bonds money. It was a deal made in heaven, and it was a win-win.
Really blew me away or impressed me, but at least they kind of stuck to a plan. The Royals, when they were flip-flopping, that's when they screwed it all up. And yeah, sure, that whole stadium downtown looked beautiful, but realistically, how were you going to make that work? The businesses at the Crossroads said the Royals were not contacting them when the Royals claimed the complete opposite. And if you're one of the politicians from Jackson County or just in the state of Missouri in general, I think you have to take blame for this. Why didn't anyone speak up to the Royals? And I have a little theory on this. I think part of the reason is because the Chiefs and the Royals were married together on this one for the April 2nd vote. And by the way, what just happened at the time, at the beginning of the campaign when they launched it? The Chiefs just came off their second straight Super Bowl win.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up right there with the Chiefs Zone podcast. For the most part, we've talked on all the KPIs about what just happened. And this has been in the works for a little over a year. It's been in the news, all the renderings of new stadiums in various locations. And for whatever reason, the decision was made, and the Chiefs are moving to Kansas. And Missouri folks don't like it. The Kansas folks are, really excited. They might not even really care. They just may have a shorter drive to the stadium. But my thoughts is that exactly how this thing is going to play out. Mahomes, he should, be, a starter probably for at least about the next 5 more seasons. He might not even play next season, recovering from an ACL injury. So another 4 years of Mahomes and just retire and close out Arrowhead and then, go off into the sunset and then, you have a whole new future ahead of them out there in Kansas, a new legacy to build upon. That's all I have. I'm Chris. But what you think about this? And leave your thoughts and your comments. Don't go ham on me, man. It is what it is. The Chiefs are moving, for better or worse. And I'm out. Talk to you guys later.